Hi guys, welcome back, and once again it's K&C Taxidermy, and we're doing a continuation on the tanning process and also on the mounting of the Oryx, because we will be neutralizing the Oryx hide from bringing it out of the crow-tan. So this process is neutralizing. Once you bring it out of the crow-tan, since it is an acid, you do have to neutralize it. So all that process consists of is baking soda and water, okay? So, and again, on your crow-tan, if you're using crow-tan, on your crow-tan instructions, they also give you the steps and measurements and all that to follow for the neutralization as well. The measurements for how much water you need, and to go along with it, the measurements of the bicarbonate that you need to neutralize your cape after the crow tanning process. So, since I'm doing an Oryx, and I also, in my last video, I mentioned that I used the same amount that I would use for a white-tailed deer, okay? So that includes 2 gallons of water, which we have handy right here, and that's going to be 6 ounces of baking soda. So I buy my baking soda in bulk and a big bag at like Walmart, and I usually find it like over by the pool supplies, and they have the real big bags of baking soda. Why they have it, I don't know. I'm not a pool owner, but why they have it over by the pool supplies, I don't know. Anyways, that's where I find it. So I'm gonna mix up my water and baking soda solution, and then I'm gonna bring it over here to my tote right here, and I'm going to go ahead and wring out my Oryx cape, and try to make sure you squeeze out the ears and I just try to get as much as the crow-tan solution out as I can. Just kind of let it drip, drip, drip. It's not gonna hurt if it's still really wet. See, and I'm going to just kind of let it drip for a second. And then I'm just going to plop it in my bucket, my neutralizing solution. And of course, put your lid back on, because if you're like me, you have tons of animals running around, so I keep my solutions and stuff covered up so we don't have any accidents. I'll bring this back up here. And I'm just going to kind of swish it around, make sure I work in that solution really well, that baking soda and water solution, into all the crevices and orifices, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you squeeze your ears real good, and if you have an animal that you're doing and it has a tail, make sure you work it down into the tail or the legs, the paws, whatever you have. Make sure you're working it all down in there really, really well, so everything's getting neutralized. And once you get it worked around really, really well, just kind of push it down in there. A lot of people use like the weighted plates or whatever to keep it submerged or whatever. I've never personally done that. I just kind of push it down, and every once in a while I'll come back, because I have my safety orange gloves on, and I'll just kind of give it another mix and just kind of toss it around to make sure everything's getting in the mix. And then I'm going to set my timer, which I have on our most convenient little cell phones nowadays. Your timer I have set for 20 minutes. I'm going to press start on that, and my timer has started, and I'm going to let this soak and sit for about 20 minutes, and then we'll be right back with the next step. Okay, our 20 minutes is up. Our timer went off, and it's time to rinse this out from our baking soda solution. Remember, This is not a harsh chemical, so that's why I don't have gloves on. I don't need it at this point. This is just baking soda and water. Remember to neutralize the crotan solution that we took this out of tan. So we've neutralized it in the 2 gallons of water and the 6 ounces of baking soda. I used the same formula for a white-tailed deer as this Oryx. So now all I have to do is I'm gonna rinse it out and kind of wash it in Dawn dish soap or whatever dish soap you want. I prefer Dawn dish soap, and I was taught to use Dawn dish soap. And this is gonna help to soften and to release the hide. Because once you take it out of tan, it's usually really stiff, especially depending on how much meat you leave on there. Because see, I don't put mine on the fleshing wheel. I mean, I trim off like big chunks before I put it into tan, but I don't put it on the fleshing wheel till after the tanning process and after I neutralize and wash it. And then I'll put it on, I'll flesh it and get all this stuff you see on the inside, I'll get that off. But now that it's good and neutralized, I'm gonna bring it over here to the sink, and I'm going to use my Dawn dish soap to wash it up real good. So I'm just gonna pull it out of here and slop it down in here, and I'm gonna start running. I always use like cold water. Unless you're using the degreaser, then you want to kind of use like a warmish water, but you never want to use a really hot water that's gonna like cook your meat. You know, you don't want to use anything really hot. And I'm just gonna put some Dawn in there, and I'm just kind of just scrubbing it, just really working it in there and cleaning it really well. And there's still a lot of dirt and stuff that's coming, and I am not easy on the soap. I use a lot of soap, and I really get in there, and you see all that dirt and stuff that's in there on the skin and stuff. I use this time to really get in here and scrub it and clean it too. Any old dry blood or anything that needs to come off, it'll come off. I get it. See all that's working out. I just work that dish soap in really well. I'll turn the water back on, and I'm just gonna start starting to rinse it. Now, if you don't have a big sink like this, you can also, when I started out, I was just using 5-gallon buckets for everything. Do you see how dirty that water is? And you really want to keep washing it until that water starts running clear. So I will just keep continuing to rinse until my water starts running clear. And since I'm not going to make you sit and watch this whole process, that's how it goes. I'm just basically going to keep rinsing it, and then I'm going to hang it up and let it kind of drip dry overnight, or at least later on tonight, because it's going to be really wet. But even though I do a wet tanning, I don't want it to be super wet, drippy wet. I want it to be a nice damp. And I don't like to wrap it up and put it in the fridge too wet either, because that can cause slippage as well. So what I like to do is I usually just hang it up on my stand with a bucket underneath overnight and make sure all that water, it's got all the excess water off. Now if it's in the colder months, things tend to, and it's a lot more arid outside, you don't have the humidity, things tend to dry a lot more faster, so I watch it closer. And if I need to, I'll bag it and put it in the fridge to keep it from drying out too much or too fast, because I want it to stay damp. I don't want it to dry out. So, and then the next step will be flushing it and making any repairs to the cape, sewing, etc. that we'd need to make, and then fitting it on the form. And of course, all that will come later or next. So make sure you like us, like our video, subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.